Start. Hello, everyone. This is Peggy Pennock. I'm here to present to you one of 10 effective classroom management techniques every faculty member should know. Tonight, I'm presenting tip 1, how to get wet without plunging in. Creative ways to start your class. There are always challenges to starting a class. For example, students are not always seated at the beginning. 2, some enter late and disrupt the class without knowing it, while others rush off to the restroom. Some are drinking their coffee, while others are looking at their cell phones. Some are logging onto their computers. Meanwhile, you, the instructor, you're making sure that your technological instruments are set up and ready to go for your lesson. Plus, attendance has to be taken. So what do? Do you play music in the background? That helps sometimes. Or do you begin with an anecdote or a joke to get everyone's attention? Or do you raise your voice and say, okay, folks, let's get started? Or do you have your students begin the class instead? That should be interesting. Let's see how that will play out. According to Patty Kohler-Evans, you can be creative in your classroom by using certain techniques to get your lesson started. And one reason that you do this is so that your students can reflect on the previous lesson and move on to new information. Strategy number 1 that she recommends, or technique number 1, is who is your partner? In this instance, you can use sticky name tags. Put 3 or 4 names on the sticky name tags on the backs of your students so they can work in 3 to 4 groups. You can pick any name you want, like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Jay-Z, Ice-T. It doesn't matter, just be creative. Before class begins, the instructor randomly attaches a name tag on the backs of students. They have to find partners by asking yes or no questions. After all the group members are together, students are now ready to review content from the previous class session. Now, what does this do? In this case, the instructor provides a list of questions to which students come up with the answers. Or you can play Jeopardy. You can give the answer and have your students provide the question. That was my idea. This process just takes a few minutes. Responding to the list of questions or answers gets students focused, all while being engaged with each other and the material. Strategy number 2. It's called Piece the Puzzle. Here, content from the class, from the last meeting of the class, is divided into 4 or 5 sections. In this instance, key points from each section are made into a jigsaw puzzle, 1 puzzle for each section, with 5 or 6 pieces per puzzle. Each set of puzzles is on a different color of paper and placed inside a Ziploc storage bag. So, where's the missing link? And who has it? Here, each group completes all the puzzles. This requires them to categorize previously learned information. The first table or group that completes the puzzles correctly will win a prize that you got from the dollar store. A variation of this task is to give each student a piece of the puzzle and have the students find the other 4 or 5 students who have those pieces and connect to the same puzzle. Here, different color paper is not used. And what's the result? There's total engagement, motivation, a competitive spirit, interaction with peers, and students are focused all while reviewing the material. Learning takes place. And it's fun. Technique number 3 is roundtable review. In this activity, students take out a sheet of paper in which they write the numbers 1 through 10. Then the instructor will ask them to put one important idea from the previous class session on the first line. After this takes place, this person passes the paper over to the person on his right or his left, it doesn't matter, and that person will write an idea for number 2, and so on until we get to number 10. After a few minutes, time is called, and the paper returns back to the original owner. The advantage here is there's no notes from a lecture. This is a better method than taking notes from a lecture, and it requires full participation. But the most important thing about this is it empowers students to become self-learners and to help each other learn in the process. Now here's a novel example. It originated with comedian David Letterman. It's called the Top 10 List. It's mentioned in our textbook, but I like to use it in my classroom, and I'd like to point it out to you. In this case, there's a countdown going on for the most important topic. Here, students break up into groups of 4 or 5, and we'll have each group come up with its own top 10 list, with the most important one as number 1. This time we're counting down 10 through 1. Then we have members of each group take turns presenting their conclusions as to why they picked the numbers in those orders. So what's the importance of using tip 1? These 3 classroom starter activities, who's your partner, piece the puzzle, and roundtable review, get students to work collaboratively, develop and use their critical thinking skills, find solutions to problems, and reflect so they can move on to new information. And now we're ready to start class for the day. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, I'll show you my references. Thank you. That concludes our lesson for the day.